Hello, my friends. Thanks for joining us once again for another program, Spiritism, a closer look. You are on Kardec Radio, and we do this every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm Luiz Lima, your host, broadcasting from Orlando tonight. Tonight, we are going to take a closer look at the automatisms of the soul. That's a very interesting thing, very interesting subject in our daily lives, all of us, to one degree or another. But we all have our routines. We have our habits. Routine could be a little more flexible or less flexible depending on the person, the situation, the circumstances. But we all have our routine. These habits in our daily lives, which is present in everybody's life. What we see as habits and routine is something related to the material life, something that occurs in our physical life, physical reality. So even we perform routines and habits means we perform at times very mechanical tasks. We just keep doing those things, and we might do them well or not so well. It doesn't really matter, but we do repeatedly these tasks, and that's what creates our habits and our routines. However, the intelligent principle is behind everything. Even if we do something very mechanical, the intelligent principle is still behind it, it's still in charge. It just happens that this particular task or that one is very, very, very automated because we have done this so many times. So it, it gets easy to do because we just repeat what we did last time. Now, in order to get to the point of a routine, for example, it takes time and effort to get these tasks, at least certain tasks, to become automated in our lives. We have to repeat this a million times, and there will be mistakes and difficulties, of course, in the beginning, but we will get there and we will get to a point where we don't have to, let's say, concentrate so much to get this thing done. It just happens naturally. For example, driving a car, especially if you have a stick shift car. So in the very first days, maybe the very first time, it's really complicated. The first time you sit on the car as the pilot, right? I would call the pilot. It's complicated because it's something completely new, different than anything you ever had to do, whatever age that was. And then you have to concentrate. Usually you have an instructor sitting by you, which could be somebody outside the family, it could be a relative, a mother, father. It doesn't really matter. Usually you have somebody on your side. And because you're putting such a high level of concentration, you just don't want to hear that person talking. You will not turn the radio on. You will not respond to a cell phone incoming call because your concentration is literally 100% in driving, looking ahead, making sure you're going to use the pedals and the stick shift, which makes it even worse or more complicated. All of this. So the level of concentration is tremendous, very high. With time, you start getting, less concentrated, then a little less. Then it starts to feel more at easy doing that task. And then when, after a few years, maybe even less than that, maybe even after a few months, you are so good on this thing. The process has been so much automated into your being that you can drive the car with one hand, the other hand is sitting on the window, and you're listening to the radio. The cell phone, rings, and you pick up the call all at the same time, which was unthinkable to get it done this way on the first day or on the first days when you were learning to drive. So that changed because there's some sort of progress in there, some sort of progress. So something was happening and you were getting better on it. You were feeling more at ease with the situation. So, in order to get to that point, driving the car and doing all these things at the same time, you had to go through a lot of attempts. A lot of it. You had to drive the car, a little bit every day or a little bit every other day or so to get to that point. So this effort, there are attempts, there's mistakes, there are difficulties. All of this is part of the process. And this is one simple task in our physical reality, in our physical life. Habits. It's a habit. Now we know how to drive, we can kind of drive easily. Now, how about the spirit life? What is not physical reality? Do we have any habits? Does the soul, does the spirit have any habits? Of course it does. The automatisms of the intelligent principle are expressed and printed on the perispirit, which will be guiding the body. The body is a copy of the perispirit. So difficulties and mistakes will happen. The soul, in order to automate the habits that it should have, or you will have one day, we're all going to be perfect, it has to go through new experiences, new learnings, several times over until this thing gets automated. It's going to have to go through a sequence of opportunities. So the task becomes automated, just like in the car. Opportunities that you have to learn how to drive a car are let's just say 1 hour a day. So during 1 hour every day, you are given or you are having that opportunity until you learn how to drive. Same for the soul. Each opportunity is an incarnation. So we have to undergo a sequence of incarnations in order to automate the things that we need in our souls. And what are the things that we need? Are the things that are going to take us to the goal. What is the goal? Perfection. How do we get to perfection? By having developed all the virtues and dropped all the vices. That would be perfection. So we have to start somewhere to get to that point. Where do we start? We start as simple and ignorant, meaning we have no knowledge and we don't know anything. So we start by having our opportunities, different attempts. And then we are going to have a lot of situations where we're just going to practice our vices. Vice after vice after vice, one after the other, with the purpose of slowly transform them one day into virtues until they get automated. Right now, at the stage that we are, the average human being here on Earth, I would say the average, but most of us, right? Our ability to do virtues is there. It's present. We have that ability, but it's fragmented. We cannot sustain that all the time. Mostly we sustain and we are able to sustain vices. That's why this is a planet of trials and expiations. Evil is predominant. Evil outweighs good. So think about, for example, charity. It's not that we don't know how to do charity. We do both charity, material charity, and moral, mental, spiritual charity. However, we can't sustain. It's very fragmented. So we do a little bit of charity here, then we don't do anything for maybe a week, and then we do another one, then we don't do anything for a couple of months. It's completely fragmented. We cannot sustain charity as we know it, as Jesus used to say all the time. We can't. We're not up to that point yet. So, and this is what's interesting. For us to do charity of any form, even the simplest thing, which is give somebody some money, say a few dollars, a couple of dollars, even that makes us think before we do it. It's not an automated process for us. We have to think. Should I do this? Should I give this particular person that's asking for money? Should I give him this $5 for a meal? Or is this person going to take that $5 and go somewhere else, drink or gamble? Or, you see, this is all reasoning. I'm all thinking. It's not automated. I'm making a judgment. Do I or I don't I? It's all judgmental, which means it's fragmented. Can you ever imagine Jesus ever walking, throughout in the population, walking on the streets, and then he would look at somebody that needs, support, some sort of support, needs to be taken care of, and Jesus would stop and think, should I do some sort of charity towards this person? Should I not? If this and that, and it's never going to happen, because charity is not, for him, is not fragmented. It's fully automated. It's the obvious thing to do. It's not a life project. Oh my God, I need to do charity. Not for him. That's what a perfect spirit is. So he got to that point. We can't do this. We don't sustain charity as we should. Not yet. And other virtues too. I'm just picking one. So the less developed we are, the less advanced we are in terms of intelligence and moral, the more we are likely to sustain vices. And we sustain. People, who are in the bottom part of the spirit scale that we already spoke about here, those spirits are not very advanced, morally and intellectually speaking. They sustain vices all the time, 100% of the time. That's all they do. Evil, left and right. It's automated for them. It's not a problem. They don't have to think about it. They'll just go ahead and do it. Because when something is automated into our soul, we just do it effortlessly. We don't have to, it's not a life project anymore. It will just happen. So, for the intelligent principle, for the spirit, the challenge in terms of these automatisms, the challenge is to disrupt the cycle of automations of evil attitudes. We will, of course, but we need to stop, we need to disrupt the cycle of automations of evil attitudes, so that one evil attitude leads to another, that leads to this, that leads to another, that leads to this. That's a cycle. That's a cycle, which obviously is going to become a snowball. This is where the challenge is, how to break that. Evil acts get can be mechanic. We just keep doing them. But good acts can also be mechanic or automated, just like Jesus in charity. We had that example. We had right in front of our eyes from him. When he came down to show us what to do and how to do, he did. And he showed. He just didn't say, this is what you guys should be doing, and I'm going to, just cross my arms here and stay put and watch you do it. No, he did it himself. So in order to turn things around and have these automated vices away from our soul and bring in or develop automated virtues, the soul needs to create new patterns. Because if it doesn't, nothing changes. And these new patterns must be based on higher standards. How can we do this more easily? If I keep doing the same thing that I'm doing, it's going to be a lot more difficult. If I keep going to the same places that I go, that will make me or cause me sustaining vices, it's going to be hard to change. I need to start doing things, being with people, looking for things that are sitting at a higher standard from where we are. One interesting thing is we should be living up to where we can be, not living up to what we are. Living up to what we are is too little. We should be living up to what we can be. And what can we be? We have millions of examples. Jesus is the greatest, but we have so many people that throughout the history of humanity came on board, reincarnate to show us that it's possible and how to do it. So the soul needs to create new patterns. So it needs to look for new patterns. Again, how? By being with people that are more advanced than we are. By creating circumstances that will allow us to do something different and better than what we do today. And then there's a very interesting question in the Spirit's book. It's question 909. When Allan Kardec asks these spirits, is it possible? This is the question. Is it possible that humans can always overcome their evil tendencies through their own efforts? Through their own efforts. And the answer is very striking. The answer is yes. And there's more. Yes. And sometimes with very little effort. What they lack is willpower. So, yeah, we can do it, but we need to develop this sense of, yes, I want to do it. Because if that's not in place, if that's not boiling inside, nothing is going to happen. We're going to stay where we are. We're going to stay the size that we think we should be, which is the one we are right now. So these automatisms, they are taken from life to life. Whatever I learn on this life here, whatever experiences I go through, I will take them. I will take the learning with me. And this is going to be present in my next life, my next incarnation. And again, it's a gradual development that we do in a little bit at a time, one lifetime at a time. So we become this sum of infinitely repeated experiences. That's what we are today. We all have a spiritual history. And that, as a consequence, leads us to say that this is our best life ever in terms of morality and intelligence. Our present incarnation is the best ever in terms of morality and intelligence. That was for Hitler. That was for Osama bin Laden. It was their best life. This is our best life. But it's not the very best possible. No, we're far away from it. We have a long way to go. A long way to go. So everything in life is evolution. So the automatisms of the soul are also based on evolution. These things will happen gradually, but not by divine decree that comes down saying, as of tomorrow, you're better. No, it's through effort, through knowledge, through learning, through exposing ourselves to experiences. That's what's going to make us. That's part of that willpower that question 909 says, in which we can drift away from evil and pair with goodness. And as we go along, we are going to start automating this process. So, for example, we do a lot of evil today, the average human being. We do a lot of evil today. By doing less evil with time, that's your new automated process. Instead of 100% evil, I'm only going to do 50% of my time. I'm putting in mathematical terms just to bring up the concept. And then later on, instead of doing 50% evil all the time, you're going to be, well, how about the other 50? I'm going to do good instead of doing nothing. And that's how we go along, seeking perfection. That's how we get there. So when we look at our habits, at what is automated in our perispirit, we can recognize what needs to be done differently, what we need to do better, how we can be better, and seek for ways to make it happen. Seeking for ways to drift away from evil, to, like I said, pair with goodness, looking for other people in our lives that are going to bring us different circumstances or puts us through different situations that will be beneficial for the task. That's what we should do. And then we are going to start automating goodness and good things in our lives, which obviously is going to make us feel better overall. Thank you so much for participating with us today. We will be here next Wednesday at 7 p.m. For another edition of Spiritism, A Closer Look. Don't forget, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. Thank you.